Good morning to you. I hope you're all well and you had fun yesterday. I hope you particularly enjoyed Warren's Microsoft presentation. As a devout Apple fan, I do have slightly different perspectives, but I hope you had fun nonetheless. So good morning to you again. So this morning, you're going to go through a variety of new speakers, and what I'd like to bring your attention to firstly, just so I don't forget, so many things happening today, the tips and tricks. So if you want to remember what see what other people have been saying or what hints they've been uploading, please feel free to again scan that QR code or have a look at the address there. Also, don't forget we have many prizes to give away and they have to all go. So again, I've told you the sorts of things that are going to be given away. Sponsors are in front of you, and if you want to take part, again, don't forget, we do want you to tweet out as well as pay particular attention during those presentations so you know how you can get hold of them. So I'm now going to pass over to Peter, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the speakers of today. And a little reminder that the speakers you are going to hear today are from Apple Schools. They're from Google Schools and Microsoft Schools. So between all of us, we have you covered. Enjoy.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Ant. I've got Warren up on stage with me, and just yesterday we ran a poll just of if you are a Microsoft, Apple, or Google fan. I just want to show this one because Warren is on stage with me. So here we go. Warren, any comments on that? I see Google winning by 76%. Oh, Warren, you are muted.
Sorry, thank you. Sorry, I must say, first of all, I am a little bit surprised that Google is so far ahead. Personally, I have to thank Anthony for his kind words about Microsoft. Although I must admit, we've got this incredible Microsoft School speaking today, a little bit later on, and I'm pretty sure that the numbers from Microsoft are going to increase radically. And I'm afraid, I think Anthony's going to be a little bit sad later on when he sees that Apple is going to be further down.
Brilliant. So we will do a poll again later. But everyone, just a reminder before our first speakers from Tring School come on board. Just a reminder, please post out on social media. You will see, let me just get this slide to flip across. We've had some amazing stuff kind of being shared out. I think there's been just some really creative stuff happening on social media. So just for interest, what I really loved is this post straight from Chile. Because our country is experiencing an important social change, I want to use tools for students to create and visualize their inventions on platforms. We will invent the solutions of the future of Chile using developing creativity. So just incredible just seeing the response coming through on social media. So thank you for sharing. I see Lawrence James also shared. I know he is relatively well known in the UK. So thank you for all of that. And just a reminder, if you share on social media or if you take part in our Flipgrid, you can win. We've got free Jig Workshop, Pro Classroom up for grab, Co-Spaces license agreements. And on that note, I actually would like to say Amani yesterday was our first attendee to jump on and be bold and create a Flipgrid response on her favorite tech tip, and she presented on YouTube. And because of that, we would like to just say thank you to her, and she is going to win a CoSpace license agreement plan with 30 CoSpaces EduPro seats valid for 6 months. And it's incredible if you watch her video. She was bold. She even says English is not her first language, but she went out and did it anyway. So I think she deserves that prize. So excellent. Warren, I will see you on stage a little bit later. So thank you so much. It is my privilege and pleasure now to invite Tring School on stage. So Jason, I think you should be in the background if you would like to hop on. So Tring School is a reference, Google reference school. Hopefully we'll see the Google numbers going up a bit more. Live with me is Jason, who's their IT manager. So Jason, we're going to be asking you a couple of questions later. But first we're going to just share a recording from the assistant head teacher, Chris Lickford. And while just before he goes on, we're just going to post a poll live because a comment came through in their presentation, which I thought was absolutely amazing when we were pre-chatting. So so let me just see if this actually, yeah. So there should be a published poll. We'll check, but it's going to say, how much does it cost to charge a Chromebook for a year? So if you would like to check that, Dan, can you please check that once published? How much does it cost to charge a Chromebook for a year? £5 to £10, 11 to £50, or 51 to £100? I'm very interested to see if you can get the answer right. So Jason, thank you. We really appreciate you being on stage with us. And before we get to some questions, and just a reminder for everyone, please ask questions in the chat bar. You can ask, or in the questions tab, please pop it on. But what we're going to do is just ask Chris to start by sharing. So let me just pull him up quickly. Hopefully today we will not have any technical difficulties like we did yesterday. So this is Chris Lickford, who is the assistant head, and he's just going to give a bit more background of their school before we get into some technical questions with Jason.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Lickford. I'm an assistant head at Tring School, which is a school in the UK about 40 miles outside of London. And it's a pleasure to talk to all of you this morning and tell you a little bit more about our school journey, what we've done in terms of using technology, and kind of the lessons that we've learned from that as well. So I'll get into my slideshow and I'll kind of run through in a little bit more detail. So Tring School, as I say, it's about 40 miles outside of London. It's in the UK. We have developed our Google journey over the last 5 years. And this morning I want to talk to you about kind of a little bit more how we've done that, a bit about our IT strategy, kind of a bit of the journey we've gone through. And then most importantly, I feel that kind of the impact that's had on what we're doing as a school, and kind of give you some advice and tips, maybe anything you can kind of take away from our experiences that we've learned as well. So we have rolled out one-to-one Chromebooks for 1,200 students in key stages 3 and 4. That's 11 to 16-year-olds in our school. And we launched a one-to-one scheme for our sixth formers all at the same time. We have a lot of external applicants to the sixth form, and so we felt it would be unfair to them, once they'd already applied to the sixth form, to then say, oh, by the way, you need a Chromebook. So we did allow them to bring in any device. We also felt our sixth formers had a little bit more responsibility in terms of making sure the devices were charged, software was up to date, that sort of thing. What we've noticed over the last couple of years is students who have had Chromebooks lower down the school, they're still using them in the sixth form, and equally students who are coming into the sixth form are bringing in Chromebooks rather than Macs or PCs as they maybe were before. We've also, obviously, within that, fully integrated G Suite into all aspects of the school, not just the teaching side, but the administrative side as well. Now, this is the big thing that we kind of focus on for every IT decision that we make. Essentially, every meeting we have, any time we're deciding actually about the next direction in terms of our IT strategy, we talk about the impact it has on our teaching and learning. Fundamentally, every school is there to focus on the teaching and the learning of the students. If we're making decisions that aren't linked to that, then we're not doing our job properly. So any involvement within IT, we have to put it in because it's going to have an impact. not because it looks cool, not because actually it makes our lives easier. Actually, is it going to have an impact on the learning experience of the students that we have in our classrooms? If it does, then that's something worth exploring. If it doesn't, then we need to kind of reconsider the direction we're going. So that kind of, just those kind of 4 words, impact, teaching and learning, has been fundamental to everything that we've done over the last few years. Now, you'll see that we've also been Ofsteded, which is the UK version of a formal inspection from the government, since we've rolled this out. And actually, we've had a couple of inspections from different areas. And actually, inspectors came in and they saw that that impact on teaching and learning for our use of technology was present in the classroom. There is a strong learning culture. Teachers, students, we understand that actually learning is the core purpose of the school, and therefore our technology has to support that as well. And our IT strategy kind of ties in with that. So we have an IT strategy. We've kind of evolved it over the years, but it's about making sure that actually learners are actively engaged with what they're doing. Yes, we use Chromebooks, but we need students to be kind of IT proficient across a number of devices. So within the school, we also have Mac suites for our media students and photography students. We still run PCs for various kind of subject areas, and they're the devices that the school provide themselves. The Chromebooks have been a parental purchase scheme, and we've loaned some out. It has been voluntary, but you'll see later kind of the uptake on that has been really, really positive. But the key thing here is actually we want our learners to become responsible digital citizens. We want our students to kind of go into the world of work or further education, higher education, being kind of responsible digital citizens. I think the last year has proved even more so technology isn't going away. The last year we've probably advanced maybe 5 years in terms of our journey and what we're using technology for than we would have done had the pandemic not existed. And actually all of our learners need to be able to use this effectively and be able to embrace it moving forward. So in terms of our timeline, we started in 2015. We went to the BET show in London, looked around all the stands and felt that actually Google was the best journey that we wanted to go on. And then we launched that for our parents in terms of a one-to-one scheme. But we did it in a phased introduction year by year across that first year in 2016 to 2017. We are fortunate that obviously a lot of our parents have purchased the Chromebooks. However, I don't want anyone to think that actually that's only happened because we are in a wealthy area of the country. We're not. We are a fairly economically average area. Yes, we have some really we have families that kind of can afford this no problem, but we also have some kind of areas where actually we need to support our families. And actually we were amazed at how many families wanted to engage with the take up. We do fund them for some students. We do have loan devices in school. If a student doesn't want to purchase a Chromebook, they can come and pick one up from us, use it for the school day and return it at the end of the day. But I think kind of actually when we first launched in 2016, a lot of people didn't know what a Chromebook was. They were appealed to it by the price, but they weren't really sure about it. So there was kind of a lot of misconception, a lot of training and support we needed to put in for parents to actually tell them what the Chromebooks were all about. And since then, obviously, they become far more well known. They've become far bigger selling. But as a school, we've always had that engagement from parents. As soon as they understand what it is, how it's going to work, how it's going to be used in school, that's worked really well for parents. And actually, the uptake was very, very strong. However, obviously, we have faced challenges. We have faced obstacles. And I kind of want to go over a little bit of what we faced and how we overcame those. All students have different IT knowledge. We are a secondary school and we have some students who have used technology widely at primary school, some who haven't done at all. They come from maybe kind of very smaller primary schools. But generally, we have this influx of students into the school who all come from different levels of ability. Equally, since my generation, we have students who are learning how to use technology in very different ways. I have 2 children. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. My 5-year-old found this torch the other day. He picked it up and he said, "Okay, torch on." Now, he genuinely expected the torch to turn on from using his voice. We have students who, yes, we want to teach them to type. Yes, we want to teach them to kind of use all those traditional skills in terms of using computers, but actually they voice type everything. They work in a very different way with technology than maybe we did. And we need to kind of have those skills and that involvement and understand that all of our pupils use technology in very different ways. So that kind of encompasses kind of our training, our support that needed to go in. We needed to get the buy-in from everybody. We needed the whole community to understand what we were doing as a school and the rationale and the reasons behind that. And as a secondary school, that also included trying to kind of get our feeder schools to understand this is what we were doing, because actually over the years, we've noticed quite a few of them have followed a similar pattern and are supporting their kind of year 5 and year 6 students. So kind of the probably 9 to 11-year-olds with using Chromebooks themselves in school, so that actually they're giving them this foundation for moving up to our school into secondary. Our staff, we've had to obviously train them throughout this to make sure that they had the skills and the knowledge to be able to kind of actually move forward. I think Bill Gates actually said, technology is just a tool. The teacher is still the most important thing. Just because you're giving a student a device does not mean there's going to be a significant change in their learning unless the teachers change their teaching style and their pedagogy and how they're embracing that. We still offer a lot of parent training. Every year we give this year it was online, but we open the school doors and let parents come in and we actually give them training so they understand the terms that the students are using. What is Google Classroom? What is a Hangout? What is a Google Doc? Those sorts of things. And one of our biggest challenges has also been our new staff. So our existing body of staff have had training for 5-6 years when using these programs. They're well established. It's part of their daily routine. They use it constantly and it's embraced and kind of transformed their teaching. But new staff into the school suddenly walk into an environment where all the students are using Chromebooks, where all the teachers are kind of using Google Drive and sharing things, and this whole kind of language that maybe they weren't familiar with from their school or from their training. Suddenly they've got to adopt and embrace, and it's up to us to get those people up to speed really quickly so that they feel comfortable and they feel confident in what they're doing. We don't want a new teacher or a new teacher to the professional and new teacher to the school to feel even more out of their comfort zone when we're also sticking in technology that they have no idea how it works. The other kind of thing, and I know Jason, my colleague, will talk a little bit more about this in terms of kind of the infrastructure behind what we're doing, the costs, the wireless that we needed to put in to make sure that all students were able to access it, the broadband width, all of those kind of more IT techie things needed to be in place. And then we needed to come up with a plan in terms of how to implement it so that actually this wasn't something being done to staff, it was being done with them working together. So what have we seen as a result? Well, we've talked about the Chromebook uptake at the start. These are just some figures in terms of actually by year group. We have an overall uptake of 98% of our parents have purchased a Chromebook. We do buy the cheaper Chromebooks. We do feel that actually we need to make it as affordable as possible, and we do sell those to the parents, but we also give them freedom of choice. They are able to go and buy any Chromebook on the market and bring it into school, and then we will enroll it whilst they're on school site. Other things that we've noticed to begin with, and throughout, the massive difference in terms of engagement of our boys. They were far more engaged in their learning. Teaching obviously and learning became a lot more collaborative, and the quality of resources really improved, even from a differentiation perspective. Having staff that can specifically send different resources to students through Google Classroom and the differentiation kind of features that exists, that made a really big difference in terms of actually the learning experience that our students had. We had that personalization, and we were able to flip what we did. We weren't just simply kind of teaching all students the same core knowledge. We were able to flip our classrooms a bit, so that actually we can expand on our knowledge. Every student starts the lesson at a different starting point, and they should therefore finish at a different finish point. Not every student knows exactly the same thing that when they walk into your classroom, and our job as teachers is to facilitate that. It's moved our learning into the 21st century, and kind of, I say this with a smile on my face, learning at home, even before lockdown, the learning day was extended. Students were doing a lot more kind of inquiry-based learning at home because they had a device, because they were able to do that. But obviously since lockdown, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but that's the technology, and being comfortable to use that technology then obviously has made a major difference over the last few months. We've saved a lot of money in terms of our admin, in terms of saving money on cover staff, on printing, but also just administrative staff. Lots and lots of functions that we were getting people to do before, we've been able to kind of do through Google Forms, and even in governor meetings, not having policies emailed backwards and forwards, actually having them all worked on as shared documents has massively helped. Same as letters, our meetings, our whole process has really kind of become a lot sleeker. We do a lot of tracking and department data. That's all shared, parental questionnaire. And we also looked at how we can maybe merge some of our cover lessons. So rather than having one cover teacher in one classroom, maybe having a cover supervisor supervising a couple of classrooms in a larger space, because actually they're all working on different documents, on different kind of lessons on their Chromebooks. Actually, it means that that kind of learning continues even if the teacher isn't actually present for whatever reason in that particular lesson. We do a Chromebook survey every year, or a teacher survey every year. These are just some of the results. 99% of staff felt that having a Chromebook had a positive impact in terms of resources. 87% changed their delivery, and 90% think that actually it's having an overall positive impact for our students, which is really kind of strong data. One of the things you will always get, and I've always had asked of me, is what impact has it made on results? And I think you've got to be really careful on that. Exam boards change every year. Students change every year. We have seen an increase in our student results. However, we've also done a lot of other initiatives as a school. So I couldn't turn around and say, yes, it's definitely down to the Chromebooks and using Google. It's definitely had a positive impact, but I think there's been a lot of other things as a school we've done, which is why we've seen an upward curve in terms of our results. However, I think the Chromebooks have played a big part of that. And you can just see here, these are genuine quotes from some of our teaching staff. I mentioned lockdown. We've taught throughout lockdown. We've obviously, the students have had the technology available. In the UK, we went into lockdown in March for the first time, and every lesson was taught there online through Google Meet. For lockdown 2, as we call it, from January in the UK, we did upgrade to Google Enterprise. We did want to use some of the features in terms of breakout rooms and those sorts of things. And we created a lockdown guidance document so staff, students and parents all knew our expectations, because the school dynamic was changing by going out of the kind of the school, out of the physical building into people's homes. The dynamics changed. All Key Stage 4 and 5 students' lessons are live. In lockdown 1, or some of our Key Stage lessons, 3-stage lessons were live. We didn't ask all our teachers to do that. Some of them did post videos on Screencastify. However, for this lockdown, everybody is doing that. And I think a really important thing, just from an online perspective, you can't teach the same way. There's some material that is very sensitive that you very carefully plan in your lessons. So subject leaders have had to amend their curriculum, so they're teaching more suitable material that can be learnt at home. And I think that's important. You just can't just continue with your schemes of work or your planning as you had done. So finally, just some advice and some tips. If you are thinking about Chromebooks, try lots of devices, or any device, whatever technology you want to go down, Microsoft, Google, just try lots of devices and get the students to trial them. Speak to them. They've got to buy them. There's got to be curb appeal there. They've got to want to do it. I said about staff, include everyone in possible when in the dialogue, right from the beginning and right from the top. First training we did was with our leadership team. They had to use it. Then other staff had to see leadership team were using it, and they were embracing it. And don't expect miracles from staff. Just because you're getting a Chromebook to them, you still need to provide them with training. You do need to give them support. we still have a Google drop-in every single Thursday of the school year, so they know they can come and get some help. Be prepared. You will be asked all sorts of bizarre questions, like how much it costs to charge a Chromebook for a year. That was one of my parental questions that I was given. I think actually we researched it was about £5. And share the responsibilities. Yes, kind of we launched this as a school, but it wasn't me. It was a team of people behind it. And as I said, focus on why you're doing this. For us, it was the impact of teaching and learning. Plan what you're doing and speak to loads of people. I think the technology community within education is amazing. And I think so many people are there to help you. And just ask for help. They will share resources, they will share documents. And rather than you recreating something, actually use something somebody's already done if it fits the job for you. So kind of use that community. And that's it. If you have any questions, then by all means, please kind of either send me a message through Twitter or just email me directly. We are happy to help. I know obviously Jason's going to speak to you as well, and you may have some more specific questions from the IT systems perspective. But anything general about what we've done as a school and the strategy and the teaching styles behind that, let me know, and I'm happy to help. Thank you for your time this morning, and good luck with whatever you're doing, and stay safe. Thank you.
Brilliant. So that was Chris, who is the assistant head. Thank you so much, Chris. And now we have Jason, who is the IT manager at Tring. Jason, welcome on stage.
Hi, Peter.
Brilliant. So, Jason, we've got some nice technical questions have come through. But first up, does it really only cost £5 to charge a Chromebook per year? Is that real?
So I did some research on this recently for newer models, and the latest information I could find was it costs under £2.
Under £2 for and you're saying for a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I see 38% of our audience said £5 to £10. So you are the winners for that. Well done. So for those who want to ask some questions, please on the chat bar or in the questions tab, you can write a question. Yassine has asked two brilliant questions. Jason, can you talk through loan devices?
Yes.
So firstly, just talk through loan, and specifically, do you have a bank of them? How do you protect them from not being damaged? How do you check them in, out, etc.?
Yeah, so just to start with, our loan devices were what we had as classroom sets to start with. So we had about 100 of them that we would loan out to classrooms, and they were getting booked out all the time, and that's why we led on to the one-to-one scheme. So we now have them in a bank, in a charging trolley that students can come and loan. We've got little asset tags on the back of them that are removable, which is a barcode, and then we use Google Sheets to log who's got which one at certain times. We were using the library software that we use for the books because it's the same sort of asset tag, but we found the Google Sheet worked a bit better for the IT team loaning them out.
Brilliant. And if someone cracks or breaks one, is there recourse? Do they have to fix it, or does the school fix it?
So the school fix it, but we do invoice the parents for any damage because at the end of the day, it's school property. So we do send the bill to the parents.
Okay. And then if that's amazing. If I understand correctly, you have 2,000 devices on campus. Is that correct? On the school grounds?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So question came in from Daniel. Do your teachers also use Chromebooks, or is it only the students?
We're about 50-50 with our teachers. So we've got about 110 teachers. So 50% of them use Chromebooks, and that's growing year on year. And the rest use Windows laptops and a couple of iMacs as well, but not many iMacs.
Brilliant. Jason, a question just came in from Ratika. And I don't know if this will be one that you can answer because it's more on the app side. Can you let us know which apps are easily compatible and can be collaborated with Google Classroom? Are there any apps that you would like to recommend or come to mind?
We use Screencastify quite a lot, which is what Chris mentioned as well. So that records the screen that the teacher's presenting. So while the students have been at home, we've been able to record the screen and then upload it to Classroom like a presentation, so a pre-recorded lesson or tips, or I know our graphic design teachers have been recording how they draw things and then uploading those. We also use a program called Read and Write, which is for students that are that find reading difficult, and it can read the screen out to them. It can change the language. It can also do voice typing, so they can speak to the Chromebook and it'll fill in their Word document, Google Doc.
Cool, brilliant. Then, Jason, technically, how, and I think there was one that, there we go, perfect timing. Cybersecurity firewall. What cybersecurity firewall do you use? That's something I actually wanted to ask. How effective is it protecting the devices?
So for in school, we've got a FortiGate firewall provided by our internet service provider, so it's offsite, but anything connecting to the internet has to go through it, so that's quite effective. We also rely on a lot of the Google built-in security, so they use encryption. As a school, they don't have any adverts on their core services either, so they like search and their docs don't have any adverts on it, so students can't click into spam adverts or anything like that. And we've got a built-in quarantine for emails that picks up emails before they land in the inbox. Wow.
And so, Jason, does that cover in school and for kind of pupils at home, studying from home?
So the firewall only covers in school. We've got a program that we use more for classroom management called Impero, and we've just enabled that this lockdown to be able to use at home. So while the teacher's teaching, they can see the student's screen, but it also does some web filtering as well.
Okay, so Jason, if you can just give us a bit more. So you say the teachers, they'll be on their device, kids will be at home, but the teacher can see what's happening on the kid's actual device.
Yeah, so they call it a cloud console, and it'll have up to 9 screens on a page, and then you can go to the next page with unlimited.
So you can actually see what the kids are up to and make sure they're not googling off. And what product do you use for that?
It's called Impero.
Okay, sorry, spelt?
Impero.
Brilliant, Impero. Okay. Yassine wanted me to make sure I asked the following question. He said over here, all right, specifically around locking down the shared bank of devices. So he asks, do you have a place document link used for best practices for Google Chromebook for the settings in locking down the Chromebooks or a shared bank? So
yeah, I don't have a document that I could share, but I'm happy to have conversations with what we've set up. You can lock down a Chromebook to just your domain to log in, so no one else can log in outside. For us, it's tringschool.org. And then we also have a stolen devices OU, which we set up so that if it goes in there, we get alerted by a piece of software in the background to say it's been switched on, and they can't log into it properly. It logs into like a splash screen saying, please take this back to Tring School.
How often does that happen?
Not very often. I think we've got about 5 in there, but they've just been lost around school. They haven't actually gone missing. Someone's just left them in a classroom or in a cupboard somewhere.
Okay. And is there any built-in tracking that you can track and go kind of hunt it down?
Not built in. We've got a couple of bits of software that we've trialed for different companies that have got that show on a map based on IP addresses. So it's similar to the Find My Phone on an iPhone.
Yes. Okay. And then just to completely change track, 2 questions. One came. Chris was asking about, was mentioning you do parent training, so not training for the kids or the learners, but actually for the parents. What does that cover? Why do you do it?
So we did it to start with because Chromebooks were quite new to the UK at the time when we launched. So we wanted to show what the students would be using in school, so that when they go home and say, I've been on Docs today, they know it's the equivalent to Microsoft Office. Just to give them a bit more background. It also was to show them that we'd be setting up email addresses for all the students, and it would be filtered and locked down, and also some of the specific software like read and write that we use in school to make them aware that it's available for their students if they need it.
Brilliant. And just practically, Jason, how do you actually do that?
So this year it was done on a YouTube Live and sent out to the parents. But in the past, we've had the school open with students in school and essentially lessons going on that the parents could see how it works. But we've also done big meetings in our hall where students, parents come and watch a presentation from Chris or the other teachers about how they use it in their classrooms.
Sure, fantastic. I have to admit, it's such a practical, simple thing, but it just buys in engagement from the parents, which makes a huge amount of sense. I have another question here. How do you approach the staff that's still unconvinced that Chromebooks are the way to go? I know you said you've got about 100 odd staff members, yeah, or if not more. How do you practically, if you could just give some tips, like how do you engage those staff that are reluctant to change or don't want to change or a bit over it?
It is really hard to get them to engage, but what we found was just finding that one app or one feature that they really wanted to use or didn't think they could have access to with their current technology. And then they tend to start buying into it. So we're just showing that one feature that we think would make their life easier. And then they tend to buy into it. So recently with the lockdown and everything, a lot of our staff have moved over to Chromebooks because of the speed of them compared to the laptops that we've got in school. And just being able to manage going straight into classroom and Hangouts.
Cool, no, brilliant. And then we have a question here from Rabina. It says, what are the pluses when you went on board with Google Enterprise? Could you share some specific examples like assessments, etc.?
Yeah, so one of the main pluses we've got is that with Google Meet on Enterprise, the teacher can set up breakout rooms. So we can have breakout rooms from the main Google Meet, so we can put students into groups and give them particular classes. And the teacher can go between the breakout rooms quite easily and back to the main room, and then call them back with a 30-second warning to say, come back to the classroom. It also automatically records attendance to the meets as well. So while we can't see the students, we'll get an email to say these students were in, just in case you missed them on the actual video call. You'll get a list saying these were in, these ones weren't, because we want to check in with our students as a pastoral role to make sure they're okay on at home and being able to access their lessons.
Brilliant. I think for all of the kids loafing at home doing nothing, one, their devices are going to be tracked, what they're actually looking at, and two, then you know if they're actually there or not. I think it's brilliant, but that's practical. The kids, students not in class, it does make it a lot harder. So Jason, sadly, that is us to an end, but what I'd like, if you could share one tip with the people who are listening, either your favorite bit of edtech or something you've done, just anything, what would be your one parting thought, tip or trick?
So I've actually put it on the Flipgrid as well, but I think the best tool for if you're a Chromebook school or a Google school would be a piece of software called GAM. It lets you use command line or PowerShell to actually create classrooms, move students to different classrooms. It just makes it a lot easier than going into each class and moving people around without knowing the IDs in the background.
Brilliant. Jason, can I ask, would you mind just typing in the chat bar that product's name? I think that would be super useful for the other people out there. So thank you so much. So Jason, we really appreciate you taking out the time and sharing. I think there are very few schools that can say they have 2,000 devices online. So incredible. So Jason, thank you. And the product you just shared, it's GAM for those that are watching on demand. GAM. Brilliant. Jason, thank you. Value your time. Appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Brilliant. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Tring School. And I think what Anthony said right in the beginning is this is going to be a day of a Google school. And I think even if you aren't using Google, there's certain thinking there that can still be applied to the school and the product you're using. But we are now going to move across, and I'm going to invite David on stage. And we're going to move across to David, who's been an IT manager at Downe House for the last 14 years. So if there's anyone who's got experience, he does. And they are a kind of a Microsoft reference school, and they've done some incredible things with the Surface device. And on stage is also, which I'm quite excited, we've got Steve Beswick, who is actually from Microsoft and heads up their Surface devices. So I'm going to hand over to David to start, and then I think Steve will be on a little bit later.
Can you hear me okay, Peter?
David, we've got you loud and clear.
Perfect, brilliant. So firstly, good morning, everyone, and thank you to Anthony, Warren, Peter, and Schoolscape for inviting me and for hosting this event. And as Peter says, thank you also to Steve Beswick for joining me in this session. Steve is the Surface Business Development Director for Microsoft Education Sector in the UK, and he'll be talking about the Surface range and the impact that it can have on the education that we deliver. So as Peter says, my name is David McClymont. I'm Director of IT at Downe House, which is a secondary independent boarding school for girls in West Berkshire. And as Peter also said, I've worked for Downe House for nearly 15 years. And at a time where we're all facing many challenges in the world, I think this is a truly important time for edtech and education. Downe House has been a Microsoft Showcase school since 2018. And this really reflects our commitment to digital teaching and learning, and something that we're really proud of here at Downe House. So as hopefully I will be able to convey to you all in this talk, this is a subject that I'm really passionate about, and I think it's great that these events are still able to carry on in this way. I think a statement that we probably all would agree with is that EdTech has never been as important as it is now. Whilst currently it is being used arguably out of necessity, the acceleration we have now seen in schools embarking on their own digital transformation journeys has been incredible, and it's there for us all to see. Teachers have done an absolutely amazing job in keeping education going through the use of technology. So I hope by sharing the Downe House story today, I can initially take you back to pre-COVID, which I'm sure is a time that we all want to get back to, and share our experience of how our journey started, the bits that worked really well, the bits that we learnt, and you know, the bits that didn't work quite so well, because there's always some. So I'll also share a little bit about how we have addressed the current unprecedented times that we're all facing, and how we think things might change for us moving forwards. So over the past 12 months, I know many schools have had to quickly implement solutions to ensure remote learning is possible. And I hope today is helpful to all schools, irrespective of where they are on their digital transformation journey. So if I just share my screen. So we can start my slides. Hopefully you can all see that. So if I begin just by explaining the outline of Downe House's digital transformation journey, which it really began following our most recent ISI school inspection, which took place in March 2017. Downe House was rated as excellent across the board in that inspection. However, one advisory item that was given to all schools, and I think this will stay with me forever, Downe House was advised to apply the uses of ICT more widely in order to enhance teaching and pupils' learning. So I guess first tip of the day is don't always worry about inspections. I always joke that for a director of IT in any school, this was an absolute gift. I was going to have free reign, unlimited budget, zero resistance. Of course, that was not the case, but it did mean that we were set about investigating what this would mean to Downe House. And as a result of this feedback, digital learning was something that became firmly on the table, and something we were always looking at. So part of the investigation led us to visit lots and lots of other schools in different countries, just to sort of see what other schools were doing. Some schools were using MacBooks, some we saw were using the Microsoft Surface. And I think it was clear that the schools that were using, or that were having the most success, all had one thing in common from our visits, and it was a one-to-one device deployment across the entire community of pupils and staff. So, I mean, having operated a bring your own device at Downe House for several years, we were now seeing firsthand how a common platform was able to encourage that collaboration. Pupils were using technology to solve problems, they were working together, they were supporting each other. So the device choice was really important. Taking the current situation, we're all facing with COVID, the one-to-one device platform has really helped. And I have actually found myself wondering in the last few months how I would have managed to bring your own device solution in such times. And there would have been a way, of course, there always is. However, having most of our community on the same device was really beneficial in how we were able to support staff and pupils during that time. And when it came to choosing our platform, we conducted pilot groups, trials with staff where we tried different devices. However, historically, Downe House had always been a Microsoft network, so this did play a big part in our decision. If we were to upskill the entire community on a totally new platform, such as Apple or Google, it would have been a significant change, and that would have required additional training. So we ultimately decided that the best fit device for Downe House was the Surface Pro, and a big part of that was the integration between the Surface itself, Windows 10, Office 365, all being created by Microsoft, meant that we could capitalize also on that existing skill set that we held within our pupils and staff. So from September 2018, we began a 5-year rollout, beginning with our year 7s or our first years. And I think a key part that we learned from other schools and learned ourselves was with such a deployment and the additional expense to parents, which is never more on our mind than now. There was some anxiety that the parents would quite rightly question and challenge our decision. However, when launched to parents, we worked hard to predict their questions and provide their answers. That first cohort of year 7s were given approximately 11 months notice of the need to acquire a device. We're also very clear about why we had taken the decision and presented the case accordingly. For those of you who don't know, the Surface is effectively a 3-in-1 device, delivering the best of all worlds by combining a laptop, a tablet, and that traditional pen and paper. With those multiple methods of input being possible, be it the keyboard, the touchscreen, the pen, or even voice recognition, providing the learning tools that are based on pupils' preference was something that was important to us. Pupils were able to choose how they wanted to use the device, and the Surface really catered for everyone. Also, a key part of our communication, we're working with Microsoft and our supplier Insight in the UK. We were able to offer and maintain really competitive pricing, which was really helpful for parents. And again, that remains at the forefront of our mind, especially at this difficult time for lots of people. And as I said, a key part of our decision making was Office 365 at the time of our initial launch, and maybe Steve can correct this or update me later when he's on. At the time of our launch, Office 365 was deployed in 98% of UK-based universities, and certainly with our parental communication, this couldn't be underplayed. It also prominently features in the place of work. So we really felt that with Office 365, we were preparing our pupils for their future academic and professional careers. Office 365 is also provided free of charge to all of our pupils here at Downe House as part of our license agreement. Again, another positive point to parents. And it really is an amazing suite of tools that delivers collaborative learning, the ability to remove those classroom walls that confine learning to that environment. And I think as a result of that proactive approach to initiating our digital strategy and communicating it to parents, parents have been really very supportive, and we've received lots of positive comments and feedback. So what did we learn, and what were the key steps that I would pass on as other schools passed on to us? Some of these are arguably from a time before COVID, but they are important things we learned nonetheless, and they will become relevant again of that, I'm sure. Perhaps the most important step is to ensure that your digital strategy is supported from the top down. Without your leadership team being fully committed to your digital strategy in a really public way, you may find it difficult to tackle any pushback from any reluctant members of staff that Jason touched on earlier as well. We are really fortunate here at Downe in this regard, and I have lots of colleagues on LT who are very pro digital, and they're very supportive of me on our leadership team. So as well as leadership, a key part for any digital strategy is it's imperative you have a robust wireless infrastructure to support digital teaching practices, especially if you're involved in mobile devices. It will grind to a halt otherwise. Network structure and VLANs. We engage the services of a network architect to take our flat and really inefficient network and divide it up into geographical pieces to improve its performance and its efficiency, which was also essential to supporting the wireless infrastructure we had. Staff devices as well. This was a key point that someone, lots of schools made to me at the time. Deploy to your staff first. A number of schools highlighted this to me. As I say, pupils having devices first can serve to increase anxiety in staff, raise concerns that their skill sets are not aligned with the pupils. So in order to start off on a positive foot, we had our staff had their devices for approximately an academic year before our first pupils rolled them out. Staff training is also key, especially in that early period of your transformation. And it's really key to establish a program of CPD for your staff and a direction that you want to go with this. This in itself has been a journey for us. We initiated this with third-party providers, such as some of you may have heard of them, the Tablet Academy. They do a lot of work with Microsoft. And they came in and conducted a skills analysis, which allowed us to group staff together based on the outcome of that analysis. And this was really helpful in ensuring that no one was left behind. People were matched with people of a similar skill set. And another point on staff training is people quite often forget, I think, to train your IT support staff. They also need to be able to know how to support teachers using the new methods you're rolling out as part of your digital transformation. So we quickly identified the Microsoft Educator Community, or the MEC, as I will probably refer to it. And it was a fantastic resource for teachers seeking guidance on all things EdTech on the Microsoft platform. This is also a community full of innovative teachers, school IT admins, and it also provides a really nice platform in which to engage with all the key players at Microsoft Education who are able to help you on your journey and on your way. All the training resources contained within the MEC are also free with your Office 365 tenancy. So we initially identified the Microsoft in Education learning path as a great starting point for our staff to complete. And this has now become the getting to know Office 365 and Windows, which includes fundamentals on Windows 10, Microsoft Teams, Forms, and OneNote. And this gives the required points. Now, there's lots of difficult acronyms here, so pardon if I get them wrong. This gives the required points to achieve Microsoft Innovative Educator status, or MIE, as you will hear it shortened to. And you also get badges, and everyone loves a badge, especially teachers. There is also this course on Sway, which we like to promote, as this helps staff to prepare for their application to become a Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, or MIEE, which is the next step up from MIE. For those of you not familiar with Sway, Sway is Microsoft's digital storytelling application, and it's a little bit like PowerPoint, but with a more of a website feel to it. And MIEEs are required for schools to be considered for showcase status. We have just under 50 teachers at the moment who hold MIEE status with Microsoft, and that is one of the highest for any school in the UK. We also last term had our first members of staff achieve the status of Microsoft Innovative Educator Trainer. We're getting there. Staff have, I think it's key to point out as well, staff have really positively engaged with the CPD element of our strategy and are now applying these skills to their teaching practices. And that's obviously more than ever in this current situation we face. And I've put the MCE, or the Microsoft Certified Educator plaque up there because there is a growing appetite for further CPD options. I guess it's our own staff stretching challenge, if you like. And we've identified the Microsoft Certified Educator accreditation as the next step up. So there's quite a clear defined path for teachers and the CPD we want them to undertake to support digital teaching and learning. So the MCE, for those who don't know, is based on the concept of 21st century learning design, which is a program to provide teachers with a practical framework and tools used for building new learning opportunities into their existing teaching. And it identifies these 6 21st century skills that we need to develop increasingly amongst our pupils. There is a growing sense that students need more than subject matter understanding to succeed in what has been becoming a rapidly changing world. Instead, they need to be skilled in areas such as collaboration, constructing deep subject knowledge, solving real-world problems, using ICT in powerful ways that arguably traditional schooling models rarely promote. And it also looks at the learning environments we create as schools, physically and virtually, and whether they are fit for 21st century learning. And also it looks at the role of the educator and how that is evolving to meet the needs of the modern learner. I've done the course and the exam. It is a great course. I would recommend to any teacher looking to really explore education technology and the pedagogy behind it further. It's really a good rounded course. So moving on, so how has technology been implemented at Downe to complement how we deliver our curriculum? So hopefully this will take you back to an image that you're all will have been familiar with at some point. We had the H drive and various other shared network drives, and were only accessible when connected to the school network. Mandatory profiles limiting the look and feel when we logged on and were forever corrupting, leading to logging calls with IT. So the reality of how we now work within the Office 365 Cloud Services umbrella, not only is our email stored in the cloud, all of our data is now centralized and accessible anytime, anywhere, via our surfaces, our desktop PCs or phone. The phone app in particular for Microsoft Teams has been really popular during the current situation. This has provided a streamlined platform that has worked really well in supporting us and our remote learning. So going through the icons here, just briefly, OneDrive replaces our H drive. SharePoint feeds our departmental data to us. The next slide will show you, I'm going to show you, we'll cover SharePoint in more detail, how we customized it to provide a bespoke front end to support our staff during that transition. I think just to stay at that point, with regards to SharePoint is an excellent tool, but without a familiar user interface, it can be really daunting for staff who have an emerging skill set in particular. And by making that interface a little bit more accessible and friendly, our SharePoint migration became really seamless for staff, and it made a lot more sense to them. Microsoft Teams groups us together with our pupils and our colleagues to provide easy access to programs and data and each other in these times. Microsoft School Data Sync helps us to automate those teams creation, which I will cover a little bit more later on. Intune is a solution we use to provide device customization, application deployment, and when we use that in conjunction with Autopilot, this is how we deploy bulk numbers of devices extremely rapidly, and we can now prepare pupil devices in under 10 minutes out of the box. So I mentioned easing that transition for staff, and that's a key part of digital transformation. Not just teachers, but everyone has been used to decades of network drives and being tethered to a desk. Cloud computing and digital transformation offers something different, and it is a seismic shift from our old practices, and training and support, as I mentioned earlier, is key to taking your staff with you. SharePoint gives us the ability to store files in the cloud, to link them to our various teams and software packages, and if changes are required, we only have to change things in one place. And you can access your files and content from anywhere on any device. So the image here I'm showing it shows our SharePoint front end, and this, as I said, has been really helpful for staff. It is a change and one that requires planning and training to support it. But what you can see here, hopefully in the images, we've tried to create really cohesive areas for teams and departments, which loosely mirror what we would have had in terms of map drives back in the day. So those efficiencies we look for in accessing our data and systems are also part of our vision for how teachers use the technology at their disposal. The vision that has come a reality at Downe House is teachers use their Surface devices in their working spaces or offices, and they're generating their resources and doing their jobs. And this is delivered with the Microsoft Surface Dock and a large screen, an example of which you can see here. And teachers can now have all those resources ready. They can walk into their classroom, connect their device either wired or project wirelessly, and therefore they're free to roam around the classroom, and they can begin the lesson. They no longer have to log in to the desktop, wait, open their resources. And we identify this all as teaching time, and the technology helps us to use it for higher value activities. I would just like to cover the amazing work that Microsoft have done with regards to accessibility and the inclusive classroom. The learning tools such as Immersive Reader, live captioning, dictation, coloured screens, the list goes on. And these tools are truly levelling that playing field, not just in education, but in workplaces. And that can only be a good thing. At a Microsoft event last year, I heard an interesting fact about Matt Hancock, who is obviously on our screens an awful lot at the moment. And Mr. Hancock revealed in October 2018 that he was dyslexic. And he mentioned in his speech that had Microsoft not brought out the Office and Word spell checker, that he might not have achieved the career success that he has to date. And again, this made me wonder how many of the tools that Microsoft now have shown here on this mock periodic table, how many of those will actually hold the same level of significance for the pupils that we are teaching today, especially when they reach their workplace and begin their own careers. So just wrapping up towards hand over to Steve now, but looking at the current situation with COVID-19, what are the tools that we've used most to enable us to respond so effectively? And what are the tools that we will retain and that have changed us forever? And just to reassure you, we do use other products from other vendors, but we do find that most of what we need and rely on now is available in Office 365. On occasion, we have started using a product only for Microsoft to acquire it, such as Flipgrid. We do use products that integrate closely with Microsoft, such as Pear Deck, or we use products such as Spiral for some of you if you're looking at engagement products and are familiar with those. You may well be familiar with both of those. But the things that we use at the moment, so as I mentioned earlier, Microsoft School Data Sync, or SDS, is a totally free service provided by Microsoft that allows you to automate the creation of your school's Microsoft Teams, and it's all based on your timetable. And this saves hours of time and allows you to include team teachers, customize the names of your teams, and it's developing fast and has some really slick management tools for archiving teams, expiring them and restoring them. And this is a platform that we've been using since 2017, and we will be shortly able to dynamically change the team membership based on the timetable data itself, which is really an exciting development for us, and it's going to make things even better for teachers. Microsoft Teams, so where do I start? It's kind of our lifeblood at the moment. It is a far different beast to the product we first used in 2017, and even at the start of 2020 in response to the pandemic. Microsoft have changed their roadmap for Teams in response to the pandemic, hugely expedited its development. I can't believe we only had 4 images on screen back in March, and we now have over 49, and so many other features as well, such as breakout rooms and those sorts of things. And all of our lessons have been delivered online via Teams since March 2020. Firstly, when we were closed, then we were moved to hybrid learning to support our overseas learners who were unable to return physically to us. And then back to online as we are currently. We use this as a catalyst to finally remove the legacy desktop computers from all of our teaching rooms to simplify the Surface setup for teachers as well. And we also, as part of that, we also installed a camera in each room, and all lessons were recorded by Teams, automatically uploaded to Microsoft Stream, so that learners in different time zones were able to benefit from our lessons retrospectively. One of the most powerful things we did during the jumping ahead, the pandemic, was we introduced a staff inset team, and we did this just before lockdown 1. And as you can hopefully just about see, we have multiple channels from the cyber cafe, staff wellbeing, research spaces, to demo things like breakout rooms, and this has worked really well and has continued to be popular. It became our online hub, our community during the lockdowns, and we still use this now. The support the teachers have had for one another and collaboration in this space has been really encouraging, and it's been incredible, really. From Teams, we moved to Teams Live, allowing us to keep not just our internal community together en masse, but our wider community of parents and alumni. Through Teams Live, we've delivered staff briefings, assemblies, parent talks, staff CPD sessions, inspirational talks from external speakers, all of which automatically recorded into Microsoft Stream to be reused and watched retrospectively. Many of these events we will continue to deliver via Teams Live even after the pandemic is behind us. SharePoint, as mentioned earlier, is ever more popular. Staff are now really using it to its full potential in how they share their resources with their pupils. This has been a hugely expedited thing during the pandemic, with staff needing the power of cloud storage to share their resources. Bookings, Microsoft Bookings, a lesser known product initially. However, we are really starting to explore the boundaries of this product at the moment. First, it became our solution for parents' meetings and automating the creation of Teams meetings to facilitate those meetings. This term, we've explored parent socials, where multiple sets of parents could book into the same session to, again, keep that school community that is so important to us alive. And we're now in the throes of planning our biannual Day of Discovery, where pupils will book into a multitude of different sessions over the course of a day. Final product that has really begun to grow legs during the most recent lockdown is Whiteboard, and obviously this integrates really well into Teams. We may have lost our physical classrooms, and many staff choose to use OneNote as their virtual whiteboard. However, Whiteboard does have a place, and more teachers are using this to quickly demonstrate a point and also collaborate with their pupils. Printing, I'm running over drastically, but printing is a final takeaway that I would like to share with you. So when comparing with all this going on, when comparing our winter term in 2019 and our winter term last year, both of which we were a fully open school with staff and pupils here, our use of technology has led to a 45% reduction in printing, which in those two periods reflects over 200,000 less pages printed as a school-wide. So that's what technology can give you as well. And actually, I would argue that teachers standing in front of photocopy is probably not the most high-value activity they could be doing. But in all of this, we are aware and remain aware of the need for balance. And as I said earlier, we are using technology out of necessity at present. We are looking to move to a middle ground, a more balanced approach where we are using technology where it truly adds value and not just as a gimmick. To that end, on the 27th of January, we held a project day, which went slightly against the trend of things everywhere else, and entitled Downe House Unplugged, where the pupils signed up for activities they would do for a day away from their screens. And we did collect the outcomes digitally, but that was the next day, so I think it still complies with a technology-free day. So to sum up, before I hand over to Steve, the journey goes on for us. Whilst we wait to see exactly how things may change post-COVID-19, do schools simply return fully as they were, or will this be a catalyst for real change in education? The management of exams, the use of technology to enhance teaching and learning becoming commonplace in all schools, prep and primary schools aligning with what we're doing in secondary education schools, and the government supporting this change. So there's some really big questions left to answer. However, having seen what is possible in the wake of COVID-19, I think schools have proved that digital transformation in education can and does work, and it has a place. So I'm conscious I've run over, so I'm going to thank you very much for listening to me. I'm going to hand over to Steve, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time for some questions at the end if there's any left. Thank you.
So hopefully people can hear me and people can see the slide there. David's going to drive the slides, so I'll carry on. So my name's Steve Bezic. I'm the Business Development Director for Microsoft. I'm based in the UK, but I run our EMEA business and I work for our worldwide education team. I've been doing this job for 3 years, and before that I ran the education business in the UK. So I'm just going to spend 5 minutes just summarising a lot of what David said, and also to just give you context around Microsoft's position with regard to what David said as well. Next slide, David, please. So I think everybody knows Microsoft. This is a picture of our CEO, Satya Nadella, and everybody in Microsoft deeply understands our mission statement. And when we put that in the education context, we kind of adapt that a little bit with making sure that we're empowering every teacher and every student in every school, university, college to achieve more. And what we mean by that is achieving more can mean different things. In the case of David, achieving more might be grades, or it might be getting a job. We work with some schools where achieving more actually is getting the children to come to school, to learn, because instead of doing drugs. So there's a huge spectrum there, and how our mission statement can be adapted to make sure it's relevant, as you can see here, for an education context. Next slide, please, David. And when you look at Microsoft, when you look at the Surface device itself, I challenge customers and say, okay, if you deeply want to transform, and David's shown that today, I think, it is a transformational product, okay? It is a premium product. If you want to carry on doing what you do already today, that's fine. But maybe a Surface device isn't that device. David spoke about the 3-in-1, talked about all the benefits you get of our cloud platform delivered through a Surface device. And to that end, that's the challenge I set customers, that says, consider it if you think you really want to deeply transform. But if you don't, then maybe the Surface device isn't for you. Next slide, please, Dave. I think the other context before I finish is really just to look at the context around the world of work. David mentioned this a lot. The role of a school is to build rounded individuals for society, but also to enable them to get jobs and go to university if that's required, etc. And if you look at the kind of issues that work is facing at the moment, even pre-COVID, it's even more now from a COVID point of view. The ability to collaborate between teams, the ability to problem solve, the ability to drive creativity and to deliver in a workplace is massively important. And I suppose that's why we built Surface, for both that environment in the workplace and indeed at school, where collaboration needs to happen, creativity. We do some work with LinkedIn, which is a Microsoft company now. And when we look at what a 30-year-old graduate is doing around the world today versus what they actually did their college course in university degree in as a 21-year-old, there's a 15% correlation between what the person is doing now and what they did. And I'm not saying subjects aren't important, but the kind of skill sets that David's spoken about in order to get jobs like collaboration and creativity transcend every job that those people have once they leave college or leave school. And that's becoming more and more important. And we build the Surface device for commercial reasons and indeed for education, to allow the collaboration, the creativity to happen, to build those skill sets up alongside the actual lesson itself. So what I'm saying is the way we teach now, I think, is important, as well as the actual subject that's being spoken about as well. Next slide, please, David. And if you look at this slide very quickly, Microsoft on the left-hand side is all of our R&D. I think the interesting thing about Microsoft and our model compared to others in the industry is that we make money commercially from software. Okay, we sell it to enterprises. And on the left-hand side, you can see all the 4 areas of where our products fit. We've got lots of products. And Surface fits in modern workplace. But on the left-hand side, you see $18 billion of R&D going into product. Okay, that's a lot. And we drive our cloud revenue on the back of that. And to drive it in the context of empowering teachers, how do we engage students? How do you look at the whole operation of the school, rather than just looking at what's going on in the classroom? How can you transform and optimize the processes outside the classroom as well? And that's where people are looking at Microsoft as a way of doing that, as well as doing things in the classroom as well. Thank you, David. Next slide. And when you see this in action, and David's moving along this very nicely as a school, when you look at this and you've got all of this working with a cloud-based model, you can see how using AI, you can capture data okay, from all of this, make interventions appropriately, and get better insights into what's going on in the school, both from a pupil point of view and a process point of view, and ultimately take action. So see things before they happen through AI, and using cloud-based technologies with Surface all together like this will give you this kind of environment in the future. Thanks, Dave. And then just finally, very, very quickly, 7 reasons why you should consider Surface. So cost, right? We are premium, right? We're never going to be the cheapest on the market, but at the same time, the Surface is built for that M365 environment. I've put cost up here because we have studies, and there's links at the end of this presentation as to the total TCO. You mentioned about the printing costs. The product standardization is important in terms of the support costs. Teacher productivity. I know at David's school, some of the teachers there talk about saving themselves an hour a day with the environment they're in. So there's a cost involved in that. And if you're providing a premium product, then you want to attract and retain talent. You want the best teachers, so give them the best device. If you just scroll through them, David, I'll just finish.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I'm gonna have to say closing remarks.
Yeah.
My apologies to cut you short.
That's fine. So here they are. I mean, I was going to go through them, obviously, but David's doing a lot of this, obviously, in his school, and hopefully, you can see here the 7 main reasons why Surface, in combination with Microsoft 365, to drive those learning outcomes and really see the vision of achieving more. That's it, Dave. Okay, Peter, thank you.
Brilliant, gentlemen, absolutely fantastic. We had a lot of questions come in, so I might need to ask David and Steve, if both of you wouldn't mind, just in the questions tab, if you could have a bash at them. But to close the session, just because it came from another speaker, and I think it is super practical. David, one question for you. How did you manage the projects for the Unplugged Day? Just any tips on how you did it? I think especially with the amount of time kids are spending behind devices. How did you manage your projects?
Yeah, so I mean that was the real driver behind it. We're conscious that everyone is spending so much time on a screen at the moment, so we wanted a way of sort of engineering a day of different activities. So we created a nice digital booklet in the run up to the day, detailing lots of suggested activities that the girls could take part in. A lot of them were obviously, all of them were aimed at off-screen activities. So we sent them a form. A product I perhaps didn't mention too much of was Microsoft Forms. We use it every day, and that's perhaps why I didn't mention it. I take it for granted. But we asked the pupils to share with us their plans for their project day. And a new feature that we've now got with Forms is that we can allow people to upload photos. So after the event, after the day, and allowing them to showcase everything they did, we sent another form out which allowed the girls to upload evidence or photos of what they'd done on their day, and then we were able to put that into a beautiful sway and share that with everyone. And it was such a successful day, and great feedback from the pupils and staff and parents as well, that we're actually scheduling a second project day, which is all going to be about service and gratitude, so giving back to the community and saying thank you, which there's lots of thanks to go around at the moment, so it's good.
Brilliant. David, thank you. Gentlemen, sadly, I have to cut you then because we're about to go into our Lions Den, but we really, David, what you've done, just your practical side that you shared is fantastic. Steve, I won't lie, your Microsoft Surface device has definitely changed my opinion. That is one very cool machine, and I think incredible just to be able to roll that out in schools and have an impact on education, and really just kind of, if it can save an hour of time, those kind of things are massive. So Steve, thank you. We appreciate you being coming from Microsoft and being live with us. Gentlemen, sadly, I'm going to have to kick you off the screen now. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
All right. So I see we are live now with our Lions Den pitch. So first up is our first presenter for today is Alan Thompson. So Alan actually presented yesterday. He's from High Impact, but Alan, if you'd like to come on stage, they are going to be presenting, I think, a tool that they have put together over lockdown, which is absolutely phenomenal. So Alan, I'm not going to try do your product justice. The floor is yours. You have 7 minutes. Just a reminder to the viewers out there, the aim with this is our lines in pitch. So we've got 3 companies that are going to be presenting, and the aim of these companies is to win your attention. We've really spent time finding incredible products and tools that we believe can help you as a school, and we just wanted to give them an opportunity to kind of pitch to you, like imagine Dragon's Den, for those of you who watch the cheesy program. It's the same kind of idea. They want to win your attention as a school, and we think what they have is really exciting. So, Alan, the floor is yours. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, my name's Alan Thompson. It's lovely to be here. Hope you're well. I was a teacher for 10 years, and then 15 years ago or so started working or created High Impact Consultancy, which was a service that went into schools all over the UK and then abroad as well to support teachers as they tried to integrate innovative technologies into the classroom. So I've been doing that with, now I have 45 staff who work here, we work all over the world, and we support teachers with that creative innovation they're looking for across the curriculum, not gimmicky, woven into the curriculum with progression of skills, assessment, tied into the school's individual curriculum wherever they are in the world and whatever curriculum they're following. We have wanted for many years to be able to create something that put that into an online environment so that schools could access that when we weren't there, when they were further afield. We've got schools everywhere, so that was the plan. In lockdown, we did it. We invested £50,000 and we spent most of lockdown working to get all of our expertise into this online environment for schools to be able to access. We then took it a step further and went beyond computing and technology, which was our area of expertise, and we partnered up with a lot of companies to help us to create, who are at the very top of their game, to be able to bring in history and music and drama and everything else that came into the equation. So I'm going to share with you the host. So it's High Impact is the name of the company, but the host is our High Impact online support and training platform. That's the website you need to remember, the-host.co.uk. I'm going to take you now into, if I can, into the website itself. This is thehost.co.uk, and that's the home there where you can explore all around, look at pricing, look at everything. It's under £1,000 to get everything here for your school, so that's just to get that out there. When you go to online training and events, you'll see when we're next doing our live demonstrations on this, where you can really drill down into the content. So there's a few there that you can book onto. If you'd like to book your own private demonstration of it, then we can do that as well for you. Going into the host, I could talk about each of these little tiles for 10, 20 minutes, an hour each, because they are full of amazing content. The resource bank has got literally hundreds of videos of lesson plans, PDFs, tutorials. It's all in there for people. The training modules are a more formalized way of working for a particular skill. The featured resources, when we go into there, are resources made by our consultants here. Our featured ones at the moment are all around the Google Classroom. So there's a 13-step resource by resource section on developing your Google Classroom there. So we've got all sorts of things that I could talk about in great detail. I'm just going to whiz through a couple of little things first. If we go to Ask a Consultant, that allows us to go into here and talk to a consultant. And we can, I'm going to type very quickly, hi there, so I can put myself into this and say, what app would you recommend for green screen, for example, and I can access one of our experts here at High Impact who are here through normal school opening times, who will then write back to me with their support. Now it's a very quick and easy one, but I'm hoping that people would start to use the consultants, this particular feature, to access our expertise. That poor person's going to try and start a conversation with me, and I'm going to close them. Okay, moving on. I could, as I say, go through all of these in great detail, but the two I'm going to really focus on. The first one, some of these are obvious. So School to School, for example, is a chat room where schools from all over the world can share ideas and make links and twinning and things like that, which is great. We'll go through some of these in a bit more detail, like the webinars and events and so on. Okay, I'm still getting support from my High Impact consultant there. Thank you very much. Okay, if I go into Anytime, Anywhere Learning, this is the last thing that we've added to the platform. It's a complete process to support schools in their remote offer with such conditions as we're in at the moment, or the circumstances we're in at the moment. It's what we learned basically from March onwards, all put into one place where we look at an audit of your provision. This is all stuff you can do as a school with downloadable, editable action plan strategies, auditing policies for loaning kit to parents and supporting them as they get on platforms, support for teachers as they need to teach remotely, work remotely, collaborate remotely, resources available to help them do that, how you need to manipulate and work with your kit and your equipment in such circumstances, after school clubs and well-being, some of the things that perhaps got left aside when we all panicked and needed to work remotely. And then the certification, because we are certified to a point where we can actually assess people to become Google certified or Apple certified, so we can work with you on those things as well. Lots of other resources and links too. So that's a complete sort of lockdown solution for schools to really do that whole process of auditing what's in place and then making an action plan and putting things in place. And it's all tried and tested. It's all stuff that we've done. So moving on to my final thing that I'm just going to show you very quickly is subject leaders. Now, as I said to you, this is the complete solution for subject leadership in every single subject right across the school. Every subject is covered in great detail. There is literally nothing missing from here. Ofsted here in the UK have referred to this as gold dust. In January 2020, an Ofsted inspector said he's never used the word flawless when talking about IT in a school, but this is the first time he's going to use the word flawless. Another head teacher said to me, having started to use this equipment, these resources, she said, "You have completely transformed teaching and learning in our school across the entire curriculum at every age." And I said, "Can I write that down? So I'm going to say that forever." And she said, "Absolutely. The school is Bidston Village Primary School. They worked with us for 1 year using these resources." She said, "You've completely transformed teaching and learning across the school at every age, every curriculum area." So when we go in, let's see what's in these. We could pick any, and if I was doing this demonstration with you, we would go in and look at each. You could choose what we go in and look at, but in these circumstances, with only 2 minutes left, from what I can see, we have everything in here from your subject policies, your action plans, year planners, audits. If I've got some of them open already, so we can go straight in, save a bit of time, but we've got everything in there, all of your audits that you'd need, your progression of skills. We've got online Google Forms that we can audit our school, our technology across the school. And what we've done is we've made sure, I'm rushing through this now, but everything.
You've got just less than a minute to go.
Okay, so what we've got here in this subject, which is computing, if I go back to the subject menu, everything is in exactly the same for every single subject. So DT has every policy, audit, program of study, progression of skills, vocabulary, knowledge organizers, everything you could need is there for that subject too. And it's the same for all of them. They are all identical. And what that means is you standardize at such a high standard, at such a high quality, subject leadership across the whole school. So every subject meets the same standards, the same very high standards. And as you can see in here, everything has got, every subject has got exactly the same things, from pupil voice to monitoring to exemplars. You can edit them all, download them, edit them all. It's all there for you. And taking me off screen now, so I've been shouted at. But there you go. Just to, if I may just go back to that slide there, it's the-host.co.uk. And you're very welcome to join us for one of our public open sharing sessions.
Brilliant. Alan, thank you. You were first up in our Lions Den pitch, and I'm always impressed when a company will go live on their website and go into the chat bar, and you got a response within seconds, which I think was a great risk that you took, because you understand, you know your support. So well done. Please, to all of our schools, check out the-host.co.uk. Alan, I'm going to drop you off the screen and invite Stephen from Snapplify on. So,
all the best. Lovely to meet you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, ladies and gentlemen, next up on screen with us is Stephen from Snapplify, and he's going to be just presenting, I think, what has to be one of the fastest growing edtech companies I know. Literally, Snapplify has offices around the world. Steve, are you there? There we go. I think you are hopping on now. So they have offices around the world, and they have an incredible piece of technology that I really feel can have a big impact in your school, no matter where you are. I know this is a product that literally is being used around the world. Stephen, are you there? It says you are getting ready. And then just so everyone knows, at the end of the Lion's Den pitch, please will you jump on? We're going to set a poll up that is going to allow you to vote your favorite company. Okay, Steve, I'm going to give you one more option to get on. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask Ollie, who's our next speaker, if he wouldn't mind jumping on. We'll just give Steve one last section. I think he is battling to get on. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can't seem to get Steve on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Ollie to jump on, and then we will jump Stephen back. Ollie, if you wouldn't mind coming on stage. There we go. Ollie, thanks. You stepped in a little bit earlier than expected. Really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, next up in our Lion's Den pitch, who's going to take the screen for 7 minutes, and he has a bit of hardware and software that actually has blown my mind. So Ollie, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. So I am from Kano Computing, and we're actually a Microsoft partner, and so really happy to be here today as well. We're a UK-based company. We have tried to reimagine what technology can be and should be for education for this century, and really just for next generation learners. So we've created a Windows 10 device, the Kano PC, fully Windows 10 powered, so it runs in the exact same way as you'd expect any other Windows 10 computer to be. But clearly, just from this image, you can see how different and unique it is. It's a two-in-one, it's a tablet and a laptop, but that's kind of where similarities stop. And we're on to sort of looking at that transparent back screen. Our idea in education is how can we give students a device that really inspires them, really excites them, and helps them to start to understand and learn how a computer actually works. So that transparent back, students can always see inside their computer, see the motherboard, see the chips, see the connections between different components. And they actually build it themselves. They assemble it from modular components. It's click in, click out parts, no soldering, nothing that complex. But that learning experience of assembling your own device, putting the pieces together, and learning how it works as you go along is incredibly powerful. It's a powerful experience for students as they work their way around the motherboard with a magnifying glass and see how all the different connections work together. Everything's labeled on that motherboard, so they can start to see what everything is and really start to understand the technology that goes into a device that they're going to be able to use every single day across all lessons in the curriculum. So it's a really powerful experience. It's empowering, and what they seem to get from it is a real sense of ownership over their device. We've seen time and again with students across the world that have used the Kano PC that they develop a real sense of ownership, and that leads to, you know, compared to other devices, they've built it with their own hands, the Kano PC, so they take better care of it. It's going to last a lot longer compared to other devices because they've had that creative moment, that moment where this has become theirs. They've put it together themselves. The power of Windows 10, obviously being a Windows 10 computer, it's so powerful what it can offer. I know you've probably just sat through some great sort of slides on what Microsoft supports, but just from our perspective, it's the idea of accessibility. So you can bring all your learners into a learning environment, regardless of their sort of specific needs. Run thousands of apps through the Microsoft App Store, online and offline. Of course, the Kano PC can run the full M365 suite, Minecraft Education Edition, thousands of other apps from Microsoft or not. So many of the apps that you've either seen today or that you love and already use in the classroom, of course, you can use with the Kano PC here as well. We also pre-install the Kano PC with some of our own apps from Kano, which are all around creativity, around learning to code, and around demystifying technology in a really exciting way. So on the screen there, you have Make Art, one of our coding apps, with another coding app called Kano Code, and a third app called How Computers Work. And across these apps, we have challenges and tutorials to show students how to code, how to work their way through the lessons. And they can do it in a self-paced way, so they can do it without a teacher involved, just do it from home or in the classroom, working their way through the lessons at their own pace. Or with our curriculum, which I'll get onto in a second, teachers can lead the learning through lesson plans to really sort of hit objectives based on the national curriculum and align to standards across the board. So Kano can offer some things that are really on that STEM side or STEAM side, computer science focused, to really empower students with those next generation skills, breaking down those digital barriers to entry. But also it's just a device. It's a full Windows 10 device. So students can use it across the curriculum in every lesson, whether they're in a remote learning environment now or in the classroom in the future. That modularity is really powerful for a number of different ways, both that build, obviously, as we've discussed, but it adds something else that I'll talk about now. Just to note that you can see all the parts laid out here. You can see it's not that many parts. It's a simple build. It's not a complex build, and that means we can really support students from around the age of 6 or 8 all the way up to 14 would sort of really be where we see this fits most successfully. But we've actually had interest from older students as well because of this particular experience of building your own device. But the modularity also leads to repairability in a really unique way compared to other devices. If something fails on the Kano PC, for example, we know from research that keyboards and batteries are the 2 components that fail most often in devices in general, in classroom environments. Well, if the battery fails in the Kano PC, all you have to do as a student, and we can actually empower the student or the teacher to do this themselves, is pull off the plastic back, unplug the battery, plug in a new one, and you're up and running again immediately. So no longer do you have to send your device off to an IT administrator or a district specialist that can unscrew the back with a very specific screwdriver and work their way through the jumble of wires and chips to figure out what went wrong. You can save all that time, all that effort, all that money by just empowering your students to be able to diagnose and fix their own computers, again, from an incredibly young age. And that in itself is an incredibly empowering experience for students. Just a note on that cover, the keyboard cover, it's both the keyboard and a case, so it protects the device even further. We've done a huge barrage of testing, full sort of hardware testing, thrown against the wall, everything you can name. And the Kano PC is designed, again, for students specifically, so we wanted to ensure it will also withstand their day-to-day use of it. So it really survives well. But with the unique modular nature, you can also replace those individual components if something does fail. We have a range of accessories as well. The Kano PC doesn't actually have a webcam built in. This is a design choice we made because we know that there are significant safeguarding welfare concerns around internet-enabled webcams on devices, specifically aimed at children, as the Kano PC is. But obviously, coronavirus happened and the huge need of remote learning became apparent. Kano created our own webcam. It's a USB plug-and-play device that sits alongside the Kano PC, and it's worth noting it can run on other devices as well. It's a gooseneck design, so it can both be forward-facing for remote learning, maneuver it over to be back-facing, world-facing, as we like to say, to take photos and images, document the world around you. And you can also maneuver it over to the side of the device as a personal document scanner, so students can take a photo of their essay or their handwritten piece of work and then use Teams or whatever you use to send that off as a submission to your teacher. So really powerful accessory there, alongside 2 others, the headphones and the mouse. The headphones and the mouse are actually modular, just like the Kano PC. So students can have that experience of building those pieces of technology, learning how they work, and then just having really useful tools to sit alongside the Kano PC or, again, other devices that you may already use in your school.
Right.
Final couple of slides.
Yeah, you've got 20 seconds to close up.
Okay, perfect. So we've got teacher resources, standalone curriculum, full series of lesson plans, over a year's worth of lessons for teachers to empower students, specifically in that computer science STEAM environment. Professional development online, self-paced video course for teachers to build their confidence and understanding of how to implement and use successfully the Kano PC. And final slide, our online, student-focused, subscription-based platform where we actually deliver the lessons directly to students through video tutorials from our team, and they can follow along and develop these skills in coding in particular. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat and I'll get to them now. Thank you.
Brilliant. Ali, thank you so much. That is absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely incredible. My favorite is Jason, who is a big Google fan at a Google school, was even just mentioning that they use Chromebooks, how incredible your product looks. So I think this has wide appeal. So before I drop Ollie off screen, not off school, at the end of this, we're going to do a quick poll of your favorite company in the Lions Temperature. There's one more to go. And if you enter the poll, you can win lifetime access to Kano's creative computing curriculum and online self-paced professional development series. So they have some rich resources that you could stand a chance. So Ollie, thank you. I'm now going to invite Cheers. I'm now going to invite Stephen. Hopefully he's going to make it on stage. The reason we lost him is I heard his power cut out. Stephen, I hope you can get on stage this time. We'll give you one last opportunity. Stephen, are you there? All right, I see he is getting ready and coming on. So as mentioned, this is our last line stem pitch, an incredibly powerful tool called Snapplify. And they have tools, I think if I can just start while Stephen's popping on, literally that enable you to take your library online. I was actually looking at one of their products, and one of the big challenges with online textbooks, or sorry, online reading material, library material, etc., is it's hard to lend it out like you would in a library. And I know Snapplify has created a tool where you can have a library system set up where a learner can take a book, they can read it on their device. When they finish, they can close it, and then it puts it back into your pool to use for the next child. So you can buy kind of an agreement license for that. Stephen, I think you are battling to get on. All right. So what we will, there's the presentation, but we can't see Stephen. So I'm going to give him one last chance. Good old technical gremlins, always have. Stephen, are you there? Okay, while we're waiting for Stephen, let's see if we can get on. I'm just going to invite Warren Sparrow up on stage. Warren, if you would like to jump up, we will close the official part of the event and we'll see if Stephen get on. Warren, are you there? Definite technical issues today, won't lie. Warren, can you jump on stage? Cool, he's coming on. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our session today. I'm sorry we can't get the Snapplify stuff, but what we will do is we will share it with you afterwards. It seems a problem. Some people are having of getting on stage. So there we go, the slides are working, but sadly Stephen's not on. So just a reminder, we've got some incredible competitions up for some prizes up for grabs. Please jump onto Flipgrid. We will share the link in the chat bar now. If you go onto Flipgrid, you can share an edtech tip or tool with other IT managers, other teachers, other head teachers. Our aim is really to make this a rich format. So the first, I think we've got the first 10 flips across our two topics. We'd love it if you could get in and do that. So Warren, your favorite moment from today? What stood out to you?
Okay, well, let me say, I think there have been absolutely incredible things. For example, I love the fact that Jason can lock the Chromebooks. So if something really bad happens to them, he can just lock them. I like the find my device, find my Chromebook. Yes, absolutely amazing. I could use a couple of those with the things that I keep on losing all the time. And I also thought it was very interesting where Tring actually do the whole parent training, and I think that's quite important. I must admit, the Downe House presentation was absolutely brilliant, and the whole digital transformation progress of their school, and I think how much so many people could have learned about that. One of the things that I think I harp on quite a bit, and he's mentioned it as well, and David was saying, this whole standardization using one platform and how much easier it just makes your life. And it was the one thing that he saw after going to many schools, which I would completely agree with. And the lines and pictures, wow. I mean, the Kano laptop, I mean, I think is absolutely amazing. So so throughout the entire day today, there's just been loads of different information, that can be used in schools. And so it's the kind of things where it's been so practical. It's the things we could pick up today, listen today, and then continue using them from today and forever.
Brilliant. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've managed to find Stephen, who's going to be our last pitch, and I think this is going to be worth the wait. So, I'm going to ask Stephen just to close. But Warren, thanks so much for those comments. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, you will see on your right, we're going to load 2 polls. The first is just, well, you still have to see Snapplify, who will present now. But also then we just want to put out a poll for ourselves, just researching, would you attend another Schoolscape event? It gives us a feel of how we are doing. So our apologies that we've gone a little bit over time, but we believe the content is rich and worth it. So Stephen, you have 7 minutes just to present on Snapplify, and for those that are watching till the end, I think you're going to be quite amazed at what Snapplify has on offer.
Thanks, Peter. Sorry about the complications. We had some power issues here. But yeah, I'd just like to take this few minutes to very quickly run through how Snapplify can work with your school and what we can offer you. So Snapplify, we're a global edtech company. We provide thousands of schools and teachers around the world to use technology in the classrooms by providing digital textbooks and the resources that they need. We're a respected name in the edtech industry, and we're a trusted education partner. And on our platform, basically all content is downloadable on any device. So all the devices that have been represented here today across various operating systems. And our offering, we provide schools with a number of offerings, including our curricular-aligned content, a digital library, and digital resources for students and teachers to use. And we have a comprehensive textbook catalog, including IGCSE, Cambridge, and IB curricular content. So we can really provide your school with whatever you need. And I'm very proud of our digital library, which is an excellent way to grow your school's reading culture by giving students access to thousands of reading books 24/7 so that they can read books basically when and where they want. And the library is fully automated. It's exceptionally easy to use, which means less work for your staff, but then also more accessible and promotes reading amongst your students, which is really valuable at this time, as many of us find ourselves moving into a remote classroom or online environment. So the learners still have access to the books to continue reading. And our digital library integrates with a reading comprehension program, which quickly and accurately assesses students' reading levels and recommends the appropriate books to really optimize reading development, and efficiently provides teachers with reading metrics which they can use to implement reading strategies at the school. Through the Snapplify platform, you can also share your own content with the learners, including video and audio content. And we integrate with your existing platforms, and this just really makes it easy to manage your users and then also to share content directly through the platforms that you're already using. Now, I think many of us are aware that a critical part of successfully implementing a digital strategy in the classroom is providing support for your parents and your teachers and your learners. And this is why Snapplify provides world-class, really fantastic support 7 days a week for extended hours for all your users. And we continue to get really fantastic feedback on our support. And finally, I'd like to invite you to register for your school on the Snapplify platform today for free. You can go to engage.snapplify.com and /get started for full access to the platform, and feel free to contact us at hello@snapplify.com if you've got any questions. And Peter, for me, that's a wrap.
Brilliant. Stephen, thank you so much. Stephen, just a quick question. Can a school anywhere in the world sign up? Because we've got schools watching.
Absolutely. We literally have schools from across the globe. Every continent is represented. using different components of the platform. The digital library is extremely popular. Yeah, so anyone could go on today to get snapplify.com and register their school for free.
Fantastic. Stephen, thank you. I'm very glad you made it on. I think there is a reason why you are one of the fastest growing edtech businesses around the world, because you are offering something incredible. So we did do just a pop-up on screen where you can register for free if you click on that button and go test it out. And we'd love to know what you think of Snapplify. So Stephen, thank you. I'm going to drop you off. Ladies and gentlemen, I asked, there is a poll. You'll see 2 polls. Which product in the Lion's Den pitch would you love to use in your school? Please let us know between hosts from High Impact, Snapplify, or Kano. So you can literally tip there. So I see Kano is sitting with the majority of votes at the moment, and Snapplify is making an entrance there. So please do that. And then also, please, would you attend another Schoolscape event? So that is us. We've come to a close. Please remember, we really want to build on Jig, just videos, and we want to build a resource along into the, sorry, not on Jig, on Flipgrid along into the future. So if you do something on Flipgrid, and we'll share the link with you now, if you put your own flip, just 60 seconds, a tip that you would like to share with another school, you stand a chance to win a free Jig Workshop Pro classroom subscription, and that's at $600, so it's an incredible prize. And you can also win a CoSpace EduPros program there also for 6 months. And we gave one of those already away this morning for the first person who was bold enough to go do theirs straight from Egypt. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We appreciate your time. We do have an afternoon session where we're going to be looking at edtech products. We've got a lot of teachers signed up from around the world for that. You are also welcome if you would like to check that out. If you go to schoolscape.uk and you click on track 2, the afternoon track, you can join that. But we appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. We hope that we've given you value. We'll keep you updated on events moving forward. And we really appreciate it. I think as teachers, as head teachers, as IT managers, I don't think you get enough thank yous. I think often as parents, we take you for granted as pupils. So keep up the incredible work. We know it's been a difficult year with COVID, but what you are doing is amazing, and we appreciate it. We love what you do, so please keep going. Thank you, everyone. That's us done.